October is here. Duke basketball returns tomorrow night with Countdown to Craziness. This Duke football team gaining momentum after 2 wins in the ACC. So much to discuss here on Locked On Blue Devils.
Hi, everybody. Dick Vitale. Hey, make sure you listen, man, to Locked On Blue Devils with J.J. Jackson. He's awesome, baby.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you so much for making Locked On Blue Devils your first listen and your first watch each and every day, as we are your one-stop shop for everything going on in the life of Duke Athletics. Today is Thursday, October 2nd, 2025, and here on Locked On Blue Devils, we're talking all things Countdown to Craziness. Tomorrow night, Friday night, Duke gets set for their blue-white game to open up the season. Duke football has a win 38-3 by 5 touchdowns over Syracuse this past weekend, and now they get set for that West Coast trip out to Cal for the Blue Devils. So excited to break all that down with our good friend Conor O'Neill from Devils Illustrated, who joins us once again here on today's show. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to follow and subscribe to Locked On Blue Devils for free, wherever it is that you get your podcasts. Go ahead and leave us a 5-star rating and written review. Make sure that you watch our show each and every day on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Share it with your friends. Like these videos. Your support means so much to us here with what we're doing at Locked On Blue Devils. So without further ado, Conor O'Neill's back with us once again. And man, we were just talking here before we started. Chaos has arrived. So many things going on. Not only do we have Duke basketball and football overlap. I mean, look, bro, we've got baseball playoffs, NFL, college football. The NBA is going through media days. I mean, this really is one of the best parts being a sports fan this time of year.
Yeah, I always waffle between whether this time is my favorite time of year or March Madness is my favorite time. I think it's March, just a little bit too much basketball in my blood. But, yeah, I mean, this is a close second.
This is a close runner-up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we like to hear that. We like to hear that. So as we look at this, though, and Duke basketball now getting set to open up another season with high expectations. We've talked about it all summer long and into the fall, fresh off a Final Four run a year ago. We've gotten a chance to hear from some of the players. Now Countdown to Craziness has arrived, kind of the signature event that Duke has been holding since 2008. So nearly 2 decades at this point that Countdown to Craziness has taken place. And, yeah, man, we don't really get too many big takeaways from this, but I guess it's kind of one of those indicators we go through each year.
Yeah, there's always that balance of, okay, this is the first look. I guess this year it's not the first look because we got that early August glimpse, but you can't take too many overarching conclusions about a team a month before they play a game that matters and they're scrimmaging each other. It's whatever it winds up being, 10, 15, 20 minutes of actual game time is not going to tell us that, Caleb Foster's going to be an All-American or Patrick Gongba is taking a step backward in development. Like, none of that stuff. We're not solving any of those mysteries. We're just getting a look, and that's valuable. You have to kind of pare it down and take it for what it's worth, not make too much out of it, but also not be too dismissive of it. So I'm excited to see what they look like. It's going to be a little hollow unless there's a miracle recovery involved. Malik Brown won't be on the court. So Duke will look a little different than what they're going to look like when the actual games start, at least ideally for Duke. You would want Malik Brown out there.
You'll see a little bit more of Rice transfer Ife Ufuchukwu, which may be one of the only days that you got to focus so much on the pronunciation there. And it's a shame because I feel like I've absolutely nailed it at this point, man.
I mean, I don't have any reference point, but the way you said it is pretty much exactly how I would expect it to be said. It was said with so much confidence that I just feel like you probably did nail it.
I wake up every day, Conor, and I practice. I practice and practice and practice. As people remember, I went to the Rice Media Guide. I saw how it was phonetically spelled out. I've put it up on the screen before here on Locked On Blue Devils. So I'm excited for it, man. I'm excited for it to rock and roll. What people are also excited about, because our everydayers are so loyal to what we do here and so familiar with the conversations you and I have been having over the years, are these player introductions. Conor O'Neill, I tell people, a great appreciator of Stanley Borden and what he's able to pull out year after year. I know that there will be some tweets probably coming from you, as there have been in the past, about these intros, a lack of him being there. So now it feels like there's a wide opening for someone to steal the show in the intro department.
I am sad because Stanley went 2 for 3. The saxophone under the trench coat was phenomenal. He kind of whiffed in between. There was the in between year where he had even admitted it. It didn't really hit. But then last year with what's the name of the song, like Chemical Romance or something like that.
That is a song, yes.
On the keyboard. And the
Yes.
keyboard is more his instrument, he told me. So I don't know. I'm kind of on eggshells right now. Like, I don't know if I want somebody to try to go the musical route. I don't know if that would be like, somebody has to be really comfortable and really confident to be able to pull that off. I'm sure we'll see some dancing.
Yep.
I don't know. Like, none of these players are Jared McCain.
Right.
Like, none of them are TikTok famous with 1 million followers who like are pumping out the dance videos every day. To my knowledge, at least, none of them are like that. So it'll be interesting to see what this team does with intros. It's a fun way for players to kind of show a little bit of their personality, to interact with the crazies. It's interesting what I always blank on whether we call her Debbie K or Debbie Savarino. But Debbie, daughter
Same
of
person,
Mike,
yes.
puts the show on, and the player intros are always from somewhere different. Like, I think last year they were up in the second level of Cameron, and they walked down the stage or something like that. One of the years they like snuck them through the crazies, and all of a sudden they were like out and behind like they were standing on the tables. And so it'll be the event that it always is. I'm sure it'll have some different wrinkles, and we'll eventually get to the basketball portion of it.
Yeah, they've had kind of the behind the scenes videos before where you get to see some of those things that you're referencing, where there is kind of this rehearsal period that they've got before the actual event takes place, which is all in all crazy to think about. I have mentioned earlier in the week about, hey, they do sometimes, to your point, they're in the second level coming down. There's the ramp to get up to the center of the court. It's various corners within the arena itself that they run out. And then I sit here and think, Cameron Indoor is not the largest venue in the world. At some point, we're just going to run out of ideas, man. So credit to them for trying to be as creative as possible and come up with something here.
How do you think it's over under 5 years from having them descend from the ceiling?
Yeah. I'd take the under, man. I don't know that there are many other options that we can pull out there. Yeah. So, dude, I'm excited, man. I think that this is a team that we'll get to learn a little bit more about their personalities with things like this, and maybe it sets the tone. We've seen some things already. Like last week, we learned Dame Sar could speak 6 languages. Unbelievable. What kind of music point do you go from when you've got that diverse of a background like that? Those are the things that I'm excited to learn come Friday.
Yeah, it was interesting at Media Day. We're kind of sitting there, and we know there's more familiarity with the guys on this team. Like 5 returners is different than last year's with just Caleb and Tyrese coming back. But there's also this little bit of a fog of, okay, I know about Caden and Cam Boozer. I know that they're winners. I know that they've had storied and accomplished high school careers and Peach Jam careers and that kind of thing. I don't really know much of them as people. Like, yeah, I know their family history. Obviously, I know about their brother. I know the family background. I don't really know them though. So that has me intrigued and interested to get to know them over the next few months.
Without a doubt. All right, let's continue to talk about the basketball portion of things. I think that's important. When we look at the Duke team here going into an upcoming season. And then we'll have football conversations coming up soon as well when Locked On Blue Devils continues. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book, and for good reason. As the NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love just how much FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. You're able to build parlays, try player props, even follow the live lines during the games. All of it is so exciting, and I think you'll absolutely love it if you go and check out FanDuel this time of year. Like we said, NFL running wild. Unfortunately, our hometown Carolina Panthers off to a 1-3 start on the year. Going into Saturday, they're favored by 1.5 over the Dolphins. We'll see if that holds. And then Thursday night football tonight, a really good one. 3-1 49ers, 3-1 Rams. Right now, the Rams favored by 6.5 over San Francisco. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the app today and get started. FanDuel is a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. Our show today also brought to you by our friends over at Scheyer. Your favorite neighborhood spots run on Scheyer. There are certain businesses that make the neighborhood the neighborhood. These are the places that become an extension of home, whether it's the sports bar dedicated to your team's fan base, the spot with the best wings in town for game day, or that beloved local chain that's been rooted in your community for years. These businesses are what bring people together. When neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. I love each and every day getting a chance to walk out in the community, go down to my local coffee shop, and the friendly atmosphere and environment. And there, at checkout, I'm using that awesome Scheyer device. Scheyer is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/lockedoncollege to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Scheyer, see you in the neighborhood, a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. All right, welcome back in. We've got Conor O'Neill from Devils Illustrated talking basketball ahead of this Countdown to Craziness event this weekend and then exhibition season for Duke. X's and O's wise, really hard to take too many things away from what we'll see tomorrow. But nonetheless, I know people are going to be excited and kind of how they divvy up the squad. Sometimes it's not even the full 20-minute half that we get to see.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just 15, 16 minutes of basketball that they put out there, man.
Yeah, I feel like we've, even though it's only John's 4th season as head coach, feels like we've seen two different approaches to Countdown, where sometimes he'll want to put his best 5 together so that they can get comfortable. I think that was the case last year, if I remember correctly. Other years he wants to divvy them up and have a competitive scrimmage, and you'll see, the clearest example of it would be putting Caleb and Cam Boozer on different teams. The primary ball handlers of this team. If they're playing together, then that's a takeaway in itself, just getting a little more ball handling on the court together. But if they're opposite each other, then which one comes out ahead? That was, I think, if I remember correctly, from August, they never played on the same team. There were 3 8-minute scrimmage periods in that one, and they were never together. Yeah. So that's kind of the first place my eyes will go when we get the rosters. It's always like this little reveal a couple of hours before. Hopefully they don't spoil that by putting it out tonight or anything like that. But, yeah, that'll be my first takeaway.
Without a doubt. I mean, just seeing how they divvy it up. I would imagine, we mentioned Malik Brown. He's been hobbled and coming back from that knee scope and procedure that he had there. So it does feel like Ife Ufuchukwu, there I am nailing it again, gets some run against Cameron Boozer and Pat Gong. I would imagine you split up Boozer and Gongba then if we're trying to make this as evenly as possible, right? There's a look you could do. But all in all, I'm just excited to see these guys get some run in. And see what the freshmen look like wearing the Duke jerseys. At this practice setting, they were still in the practice jerseys. Now they'll be in full uniform, ready to take the floor and compete there in front of the Duke fans.
Yeah, I've been on the show before talking about how I did not come away from the August scrimmages with the greatest impression of 3 freshmen. Nick Hamenia. Actually, we learned at Media Day it's Hamenia.
Hamenya. There you go.
There's no There's just Dame Sarr looked like kind of a twig at the August thing, and Sebastian Wilkins looked a little overmatched. But I tell you what, when we got our little 20 minutes of practice viewing after Duke's media day, Dame Sarr looked pretty good. Yeah. And I've heard a couple other good things about Dame Sarr. So I'm very curious to see him. Obviously, Nicholas, you never want to, like I said, you never want to draw an overarching conclusion based on the first time that you're seeing these guys, even based on the second time, which in this case it'll be. So we gotta see what they look like.
And this Duke team is trying to defend their ACC championship title from a year ago. We've talked a lot about the non-conference schedule. This team going to be built in its core to play and compete hard in the ACC and set them up for success in the NCAA tournament. I bring all this up because this week we've also seen FanDuel kind of release the betting odds for ACC championship contenders. Duke is the favorite, no surprise to anyone else, followed behind Louisville second, North Carolina third, NC State and Virginia round out your top five. As you kind of get a scope of the league, I feel like that's kind of where everybody has these teams positioned, Connor.
Yeah, I really like Virginia. I would seriously toy with the idea of having them either second or third. And it's hard for me to doubt anything about Louisville. I mean, Pat Kelsey's immediate impact last year was undeniable. And man, I've really liked watching Isaac McNeely shoot the ball for 3 years, and now he's going to be doing it for a team that I think can compete with Duke atop the league. But I've been driving the Ryan Odom hype bus since 2018, and before they knocked off Virginia in 2018. So I think he's a really good coach, and I think Virginia is going to be back to being a perennial NCAA tournament team with him at the helm there. And I really like what they've done with the roster too. So those would be my top three. Just from my dual beat responsibilities, Wake Forest is an interesting team just because they've kind of recalibrated a bit. They brought back a good group of like 4 or 5 players, but they all kind of play the same position. Like they're all either they're all either wings or 4-men. So they've kind of had to sparse in like several guards and a big man, Cooper Schweiger from Valpo. So Wake again, like they've won a combined 86 games in the last 4 years under Steve Forbes. It feels like, depending on who you talk to, it's either only a matter of time before they break through, or they've got this glass ceiling that they're never going to be able to break through to get to an NCAA tournament. So they're an interesting team.
And then those other North Carolina schools. I mean, with the Will Wade being the NC State new head coach and all the work that he did in the transfer portal, that is an entirely new roster that he's got cooking there. It's
fun to see. If you're fourth on Tobacco Road, you're kind of, your time is running out.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's where Steve is right now. I don't know if that's where Hubert Davis is. If that team underperformed. That's
what I was going to ask you. Where is that clock for Hubert Davis?
Yeah, I think if they got the right transfers, like if Henri Vassar is everything that they think he can be, maybe this can be a top 4 or 5 seed in the NCAA tournament. I think if things go wrong and they don't make the NCAA tournament, I think they have a really easy decision on their hands, especially with an AD changeover coming next year. I think the maybe not worst case scenario, but like the nightmare scenario almost from a stressor standpoint is what happens if Carolina is a 18 or 19 win team and gets into the tournament as an 8 or 9 seed. Like, What do you do? What do you do then? Do you say that's good enough after missing the tournament a couple of years? Or I guess they didn't miss it last year, but scraping into it last year. Or do you say this is not good enough and try to spin the wheel for Nate Oates or whoever?
Right.
I mean, they're Carolina basketball. If that job comes open, they'll have no shortage of candidates. But yeah, there's a lot of intriguing basketball storylines on Tobacco Road this year.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see it all play out and excited to see how the ACC jockeying starts to position itself throughout the course of the year. And we'll learn more again Friday. We'll get to see the Duke team in action with Countdown to Craziness. On Saturday, a really late football game is ahead for us. When Duke gets set to head to Berkeley, they'll take on Cal. So we'll talk a little Duke football in just a moment here on Locked On Blue Devils. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends at Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Plus pick awards than anyone else. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings the same intention to how we craft every model. You could feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move or be moved. Proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. The show today also brought to you by our friends at Game Time. College football is back. Couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, rivalries, energy in the stands, there's just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel more like a battle than the game itself. Endless waiting queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout, and more. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. The easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I pulled up Game Time, and in just a couple of apps, I saw amazing deals talking about your favorite college football games as low as $25. The app is made super simple. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Game Time is a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. All right, speaking of college football, Duke in a bit of a roll here with 2 back-to-back ACC wins. They won by 5 touchdowns over Syracuse. First drive of the game, Syracuse puts a little bit of a drive together before Duke comes up with an interception. Second drive of the game, the Orange are able to work for a field goal. After that, nothing. Duke made sure to keep them out of the end zone. Really impressive.
Yeah, it's a bad week for anybody that walked around saying, I didn't think Duke would ever win an ACC game 38-10. And Syracuse couldn't even punch it in the end zone at the end there to at least give me the score that I was saying they would never get. So, and just really impressive. You can caveat it all you want with Syracuse being on a backup quarterback, and that does play a factor. Like Steve Angeli going out in the second half of a huge win had to take an emotional toll on Syracuse, but that's not a controllable for Duke. The part of that Duke can control is confusing a first-time starter who has only played basically in mop-up duty and then whatever he did against Clemson with a big lead. So it's just a really strong performance that you knew this team was capable of. They gave you some evidence in the first couple in the second and third games of the season to think that you'd never see it from them. Even in the fourth game, like they're down 20-7 against that NC State team. And it's an NC State mistake that really gives Duke a lot of the juice in that one with the interception late in the first half. So just a performance that you can't really say too much negative about. I mean, if you want to focus on the penalties being an issue, then yeah, the 9 penalties for 105 yards, that's a problem for Duke. But other than that, like tackling, efficient offense, maybe 1 or 2 third downs they regret, but really just a all-around complete dominant performance.
Well, the first 2 games of the season, Duke didn't have a single turnover that their defense was able to force. Then you play Tulane week 3, and the turnover battle ends 1-1 as Duke finally forced a turnover and got a fumble recovery. But in the past 2 games combined, they're +8 in that area. Like the defense is helping them get opportunities. and taking the football away.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of, when we're asking about turnovers in the first couple games and why aren't they being generated, to Manny Diaz's credit and Jonathan Packey, the defensive coordinator, they both kind of said, like, the pressure rate is there. They just look, sometimes turnovers are just sheer luck. There's just there's no better way to put it. And Duke was a little unlucky in not coming up with any against, maybe did they have one against Illinois?
No turnovers. Yeah.
Okay. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, you need a little luck, and they kept pressuring the way they were, and now they've gotten them. Manny also likes to tell us that it is a little contagious, and it goes both ways. Like, Duke committed a bunch of turnovers against Illinois, probably because it was a little contagious, and probably because game script kind of had Samir Hagan's fighting for extra yards where he should have just gone down, or stuff like that. When you reverse it and you get the turnovers, when you're already up a couple touchdowns and the other team feels like they have to press and they have to score every time down the field, then that's when you can get more turnovers, and just kind of it snowballs both ways.
Without a doubt. I mean, I think about the defense being able to make these shorter fields for the offense then to work with makes everybody's job a whole lot easier, and that's been the case these last couple of weeks. Through the first 4 games of the season, every day you walk away and you want to talk about Darian Mensah, because it's this quarterback acquisition that Duke gets in the transfer portal. He was lighting the college football world on fire. He's top 5 in so many passing categories, not only in the conference, in the entire country. And yet, for the first time after Saturday's game against Syracuse, Mensah's not necessarily the first guy you want to talk about. He didn't do anything wrong at all. But, man, this freshman, Nate Shepherd, and stealing this game and all the storylines, man. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, he's special. I had somebody doing a Cal podcast ask me if it was a surprise that he broke out and had the game that he had against Syracuse, and I kind of had to straddle the fence of like, yes, it was, because
right.
A freshman starting at any position in college football, starting for the first time and running for 168 yards in a conference road game. It's not like he was doing that against Middle Tennessee or somebody. Right. That's impressive. That's you're not expecting that when we're talking in July and August. But based on kind of the escalating role that he's had since the season started, for his snaps have gone up every single game according to PFF. It's gone from like 12 to 20 to 22 to I think 36 and 37 in the last 2 games.
Wow.
You kind of feel this one building toward like this guy's going to have more of a role. The more times Duke gets him involved, the better things happen. Like he has a knack as a playmaker to make things happen. And Duke would be stupid not to utilize that. I think anybody in their staff would tell you, like, yeah, it'd be insane not to use his natural playmaking ability. So he's gonna keep getting the football.
Because what's so crazy about running backs is that, like, early on in the season and in the off season leading up to it, before you get into fall camp, once spring ball comes and goes, it's like, let's talk Duke football in that running back room. You're going to talk Jaquez Moore and Peyton Jones, and we were all doing that. And then here we are 5 games into the season. It's Anderson Castle and Nate Shepherd that you're talking about, and not the guys that were a known commodity in the Duke football program.
Yeah, and that just, it's a little bit opportunity.
Credit to the latter for taking advantage of this opportunity.
It's a little bit opportunity. It's a little bit fit in what Duke needs from its offense. Jonathan Brewer talked to us on Monday about how much Duke likes the fact that they have 2 running backs that just finish runs.
Yeah.
You never feel like Nate Shepherd or Anderson Castle is going to be pushed backward. Granted, Anderson Castle has run backward a couple times, but that's him trying to make plays.
That's his own fault.
They're going to finish runs physically, and that's if you've been paying attention to this program the last 3 years, it's not just the last year and a half with Manny. It's since basically David Feely arrived in Durham as the strength and conditioning coach. This team wants to be a physical team. They want to be the more physical team. Usually the more physical team wins a football game. And if you're talking about running backs that are going to go through you instead of try to go around you, those are the two guys that Duke is giving most of the carries and catches out of the backfield to.
Excited to see Duke, a late one Saturday against Cal, as they look to go 3-0 before the bye week in ACC play. Duke with a 3-2 record overall right now on the year. He's Conor O'Neill from Devils Illustrated. Tell us about your work and how people can support you, Conor.
Oh, man. Go to Devils Illustrated. If you just type in duke.rivals.com, it's not the owner of the site anymore, but that website still will get you to where you need to be, or just type in Duke on 3 and you'll get there. Please subscribe. I'm churning out content every single day on Duke. It's really in-depth and hard-hitting stuff.
Good to see you, man. We'll do this again soon, okay?
Sounds good.
That's Conor O'Neill joining us here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils, and that's going to bring our show here today to a close. Be sure to please subscribe to our YouTube channel as we continue that climb towards 5,000 subscribers. A special shout out to all of you everydayers. You mean the absolute world to me. Thank you for letting us do this as Locked On Blue Devils continues to grow. Subscribe wherever it is that you get your podcast. Follow us on X at @LO_Blue Devils. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you again tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.